Limited company, LLP. What are they? What are the differences? And how can you use them? Check out this video as Louise and I discuss this very subject. But the question they had was, what's the difference between an LLP and a limited company?
Oh, blimey. These are awesome questions.
That's a corker of a question.
Yes.
So why don't we make a start? Let's talk about legal for a second, because there's two aspects of entities, I think. There's the one that deals with legal protection, and there's one for tax.
Okay.
So why don't you start us off from the legal perspective of an individual versus an LLP versus a limited company? What's the legal protection around those three?
Ooh, okay. So right, okay. Limited, I'm going to start with person. So individual. I'm quite a glass half full girl, so I'm going to go glass half empty now. Let's imagine you've got a business activity, whether that be rental or something else in your personal name, and something goes horrifically wrong. So as an example, I know someone who had a tenant. They managed to blow up the house and themselves. Thankfully, I don't know how they managed it, but they managed to get out safely, thank goodness. But they managed to blow up the house. It was literally blown apart. Something to do with gas cooker and trying to siphon off gas. The issue was that the tenant got very badly burnt, and the next door neighbour's house was completely wrecked as well. And as a consequence, yes, there was an insurance claim and all that jazz, but there could have been suing going on as well. There could have been a lot of liability. On that occasion, there wasn't, but there could have been. And that could potentially have put everything in their personal name at risk in terms of being able to pay any damages that might have come out of that. So in your personal name, whatever you own in your personal name is at risk if you're then personally sued. In a partnership, certain partnerships give you a liability protection and certain partnerships do not. So I don't know whether you know this, but there are 3 different types of partnership you can have in the UK. So if you have a limited liability partnership, LLP, then that affords you some protections just as a limited company does. Limited in both of those instances means your liability is limited. So in that same awful scenario where something goes horrifically wrong, you're sued, there are damages that you've got to pay out, then those damages are typically capped at a certain value because of the limitations around those 2 types of business. If you're in the other 2 types of partnerships, I won't bore you with too much, there's a potential that you've got higher liability, more akin to just having things in your personal name. So I guess that's where I would go on the legal stuff. Have I missed anything you wanted to cover?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I'll pick up on the tax side. So from the tax side of things, if you've got properties in your own name, as an example, then you'll pay the normal income tax bands, whether that's 0%, 20%, 40%, 45%. You have Section 24 implications. So though high rate taxpayers could actually be paying 60, 70, 80%. One particular client I saw many moons ago when I was doing tax returns with you guys was one tax return that had 145% income tax, right?
111%.
I remember that client and having to someone broke the news to him. Wow, I mean, that's tragic. So you have to watch out for Section 24 if you have mortgages. So one thing to watch out for. The one thing I would say about LLPs is that LLPs, people talk about limited companies and think, well, if it gives me legal protection, surely that gives me tax protection. And unfortunately, it's like having a house alarm with no batteries, because it gives you 0 protection. From an income tax perspective, you're still going to, in an LLP, the property's income will go through a partnership tax return, but still into your own individual income tax return on your self-assessment tax return, unless I'm saying something wrong.
Nope.
So that means that the reason why I'm looking at this is because I don't do any tax returns. I know that sounds really odd, but I don't. It's because I'm disastrous at it, to be fair. Even when I do my own, Louise has to correct them every single year. I now have to not do my own, which is safe for everyone, including me. So from that side of things, an LLP is not great. The only company structure or entity is the limited company. That is the only entity that gives you that tax rate of 19%, albeit we could talk more about where it's going in the future, but we won't for today. But that is the only entity. So if you look at all those kind of buckets and whatever troughs, if you're a pig, and I don't know why I went with that, but trough
buckets. We'll stick with buckets.
We'll stick it with buckets. I'd still, the word buckets is just feels like you put rubbish into it. High-end shelving. So if you've got high-end shelving, then the limited company is the only one on the high-end shelf that gives you that benefit from a tax perspective. What you still have to bear in mind, though, when people talk about shifting stuff into a limited company, like a property portfolio, I do say to people, even though you can get these reliefs for stamp duty, land tax, and CGT, and whatever else, what people need to bear in mind is that at some point you still need the money out. So anyone that has a property portfolio and needs all of them, I know one particular client,
yes,
lovely, but she told me once that she needs every penny for her lifestyle. A limited company is suicidal. I think if you have a limited company, you pay greater amounts of mortgage interest. And if you're going to say it's got £100,000 profit, I'm going to take it all out. Well, you've paid 19% plus you pay an income tax. You actually pay around about 2-3% more than if you left it in your own name. So you have to be careful with that, right?
I would say of all of our clients that we see who think or anticipate a limited company could help them, of the 10 that I see, 6 of them it will, 3 of them it definitely won't, and perhaps 1 it's kind of borderline.